I did too.
Yeah, you're good. Get right in the middle.
Hey, how's it going? We are going to wait here a couple minutes till everyone gets logged in, but thanks for joining us on this Friday. We are excited to showcase quite a bit. So we're going to give it about 2 minutes just so people can get logged in. Sometimes it takes a little bit. So we'll be back here in a second. All right, thanks again for joining us on this Friday. We're kind of waiting for more people to get logged in here, but I'll go over a little bit of housekeeping. So on your screen there, you will see the chat window. Feel free to fill out any questions you have throughout. John and I will be watching the chat to see if there are any questions we can answer quickly. We also have a few guys watching it from the Genpack side to answer those questions for you. This whole presentation will be recorded as well. So we will post a link probably on our Facebook, LinkedIn, stuff like that afterwards if you guys want to replay it or share it. But as we get started, I want to bring in John McBride from Alltell Robotics.
I'm coming in.
Perfect. Sweet.
Excellent.
Thanks for joining us today. For those who don't know, John McBride is with Alltell Robotics as of recently. Mm-hmm. He is in my opinion, one of the big influencers in the drone industry over the last couple decades.
It's been a little while.
Yeah,
probably more known as I had worked at my previous job at rmus and Rocky Mountain Unmanned Systems, and thanks for having me, by the way. Yeah, it's been great. You know, we've been doing coming up here, talking a little bit more about some of this newer technology, now working for a manufacturer, kind of explaining, kind of seeing behind the scenes. So we have a lot to talk about today. So
yes.
Yeah.
So John's been out here the last couple of days with our Dragonfish. Genpack, we're located here just east of Portland on the West Coast. So traveled out here Wednesday evening and kind of got set up. And then yesterday we did a bunch of flight training with the Dragonfish, going over the different systems and whatnot. So from there, I think we'll just kind of jump in. Mm-hmm. And so for those who don't know, not everyone knows the drone Jesus of John McBride.
Did you come up with that name?
I did not. Do you know where it came from?
I do not.
Okay. Well,
I don't know why.
It could be the hair.
Could be
the great skin complexion.
Yeah. Sure.
So John is extremely popular in the drone industry, and we're glad that he has joined Alltell. But tell us a little bit. How did you get into drones? What's your history with the industry?
Sure. I mean, like I said, I want to be all about me, but just talking in general, the fascination with drones came into the passion of RC, so radio control. So I love radio control. I thought, as a kid, building airplanes, building helicopters, I did try, but unsuccessfully built what we would call a drone today. But in those early days, it wasn't called a drone, so a multi-rotor outside of being a fixed wing or a helicopter. But my transition really happened when we were working with a company that was throwing in automated flight controllers. Mm. So now we're not taking the full-on manual stick control and teaching, police officers or search and rescue how to fly a helicopter over a scene with a camera on the bottom, right, and having them be very proficient at that, which is very complicated in its own right to fly an RC helicopter. But then we put a flight controller in there to make that much easier for the user. As time progressed and moved on, new product came online. There was more flight controller availability. We see manufacturers coming out of Europe, coming out of China, coming out of not very much in the United States, but they were still doing Northrop Grumman level type stuff as far as fixed wing and drones were concerned. But we saw this major change in consumer electronics side, and that put this barrier of entry of where I started to building something that was $50,000 or $60,000 that was as big as the table that we have here, down to 1,000, sub 1,500, maybe $2,000 in an investment. And this really opened that door for where I have a very soft spot is within public safety, to get them the tools to make sure that they are understand the products, they create all of the back end regulations. They're just but most people just struggle with, what does the drone actually do for me? And the cost of it could be exorbitant, big. Now we've been able to create that. Now with a lot of other companies that are coming online, of course, we've got these other possibilities, with other technology. So not just a camera on a drone and a small one. Now we've got LiDAR, we've got multispectral, we've got special sniffers, and now we're going even more into a lot of the drone companies selling ROVs and quadrupeds, and maybe you'll get into selling these things to provide for your customers that are more than just a flying drone.
Exactly.
But this remote sensing technology, and for what I've been passionate about and loved, doesn't really matter. To me, I want to take the best stuff, figure it out, understand it, teach people about it, and then I don't even know how much things cost most of the time. I stay away from that. People are like, how much is that? I'm like, I got sales guys.
Right.
Get all of those guys. But I can tell you how fun it is to fly.
Yeah.
So
John's one of those we've been talking to of even like with the Dragonfish. He's the one who's just got to sit there and, all right, let's take it apart. Let's figure out what makes it work on the inside, which I think is huge. That's part of, I think, why you've had such a huge influence on the industry, because you are one of those that, let's go fix the problem, let's recreate it, find out how this is working or not working, and get an answer. So that's been huge.
And that rmus, I mean, and again, we could consider that you and I, were competitors in some capacity, right? So you had your customers at Genpack, and I have my customers at rmus. We had a staff of people and that would help make it through this very complex drone use, world that we live in. Between so many different industries and so many different types that we're doing out there, it makes it would, as competitors, why are they selling more than we're selling, or why are they doing this more than this? It doesn't really matter. I think we're all in the same boat to try and help the customer understand the product lines that are coming out.
Totally.
To then educate them, to really value that these aren't toys. When you put it into a life-saving perspective, now it's not a toy. Doesn't matter if you bought it at Walmart. Doesn't matter if you bought it from you or bought it from me at rmus. That expectation is that we're going out there and doing something with this widget, and it's got a purpose now. And we want to educate people, and I think we've always had, a lot of dealers have had the challenge of trying to support that and trying to do that all the time. It does take a huge staff of people. It takes to support and help. So, so moving from the reseller side into the manufacturing side, it wasn't easy as a personal and individual. rmus itself, definitely, I co-founded that company with my partner, JT. He is family. He is, basically like a brother. And I have all my guys that work for me. We have 14 employees there, and we all were considered a very good family knit. However, for individual growth and working to maybe, like as a reseller, you can only go so far.
Right.
Telling manufacturers, hey, this needs to change, or why is it like this, or what's going on. And we always ran into those challenges as a reseller. And as far as Alltell goes and the team that we put together, I'm actually the only reseller on the, with Randall, Troy Hiddle, all these new guys that are coming on,
Right.
Rich Schutte.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that really does come from that reseller side to kind of voice my opinions on, if you don't do it this way, it makes it complicated for everybody else to include, and it filters all the way down to the customer,
Right.
and the end user.
I totally agree. It's a really interesting small niche of a world, right? Where the drone industry on the enterprise side, but I've been surprised and super excited on how a lot of our competitors or competition all work together, because we all talk. I talk to Travis at Vector all the time, and Gresco and all these guys.
Yeah.
But we're all here for one common purpose, is to see our end users be successful.
Absolutely. And if we drive that passion both on a manufacturer level to see what we can do and what changes can happen, down to making sure that you have the product lines to sell when you say you're going to have them available, that's a manufacturer problem if we can't get them to you quick enough or know what the expected production is going to be or anything like that. And I think all companies, and we don't want to throw DJI under the bus, but it's become a powerhouse of a company.
Right.
And I think some of that stuff just kind of slips through the cracks over time. Mm-hmm. And if you're not really ready for it, as now I'm with Alltell, and ready for we're getting more people talking about Alltell, we're getting people understanding. I mean, here invited me up to talk about the Dragonfish. Nobody really has a product line called or that is like that, you know. So it becomes very challenging as we again step down the chain and how it affects. And if everybody gets on that same page of the expectation of this is how I handle the customer, and if I tell you, hey man, you got to step up your game and training, because I heard or we want to set that level playing field.
What I think I'm really excited about too is seeing knowing Randall from when he was over at Fleer and before and all that, seeing how he's very much about the connection of the industry. It's not like DJI versus Alltell versus Teal versus everyone else. It's let's work together. We all have different spots of the market, but we can coexist. Well, that's really going to make it better in the end.
And I think we had that same kind of mantra with ARM-US. Don't take it personal, DJI, if I don't sell your stuff and I sell Alltell instead. Don't take it personal, Teal, if this isn't going to meet the requirements. We're talking about the end user being the most important person.
There's not a one drone fits all.
No, absolutely not. Right. And we can attest to that, to how many are out there and do certain jobs that were engineered. However, as I go back to that barrier of entry, are we going to buy a fleet of 20 different, this one does this one does this one does this? Well, any group has to understand why they buy, a pickup truck over buying a dump truck, and are you going to use them for the same job? Well, what can we do with a pickup truck that we can't do with a dump truck, and vice versa, with much more investment into a dump truck, versus what a pickup truck can do. So we have to have that. We have to be able to say, these are good for this engineering. This is why it was made. And when we bring up the Dragonfish, there's 100 different types of Vtol and fixed wing and different things that are coming into the market. Mm-hmm. However, they are a lot less expensive than, so even though you would be like, hey, I want to buy the big dump truck, but it just doesn't make sense to have, the amount of fuel it uses and what the load is to just put a couple sandbags in the back. Yeah. Right. So it just seems overdoing a little bit. Now, we're likely going to see mapping payloads. Yeah. We're going to see new things that are going to be, part of the Dragonfish. So your investment isn't just for a specific thing, but yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit today and kind of get people to know a little bit about it.
So with the great reveal, behind the hair is not an ARM-US logo. You've now got the Alltell logo. That's hiding there.
Yeah.
What?
And I, by the way, one of the things about why my hair length is a certain length is so that you can see the logo. Right. And I told Randall, I need a haircut, man. He's like, no, dude, it's fine. But like I need to chop. That's usually my spot, is when I stand in the mirror and I go, oh man, I need a haircut.
It's a good measuring logo.
It's a measure. It's how you.
And
measure.
You can't just do one side.
No, right.
I have been surprised, John's been up here a few days, at the amount of comments that you've gotten on your hair. We were at a restaurant, and we were at lunch the other day. That was the first thing the waitress said. She didn't even want to ask our order or what we wanted to drink. It was, wow, I really like your hair, which I hardly ever get that comment.
Oh, come on, man.
We're on the polar opposite scales here.
Well, I mean, you know, and whatever makes people feel comfortable to come up and talk to me, you know, I've always tried to keep it a more human perspective. You know, I'm a dad. I have bills just like anyone else. Right. I try to post and put things out there to make me look like I'm not unapproachable. Right. I try to answer questions as much as I can. So if this is like, you know, to be helpful and not, you know, hey man, you're not one of my customers, so I'm not talking to you. And I talk to people all over the world. Yeah. It's not just here. You know, I'm answering questions. It drives my lady crazy sometimes. I'm answering questions at 2 a.m. You know, or getting on a phone call with somebody. And now, you know, working with Alltell now, you kind of have that, you know, HQ, you know, now it's a global product. It's not just RMUS selling a few things out there in the world. Now now it's a global product. Now I'm globally.
I'm sure she'll love that even more.
Oh yeah, she's
there was any time
she's getting used to it. So where are you going again? So where are you going again? So who are you talking to again? Right. So anyway, given that realistic, I'm a real person, approachable, will talk to you. You know, there's a lot of people that come in later that I've talked to several years ago that are just like, hey, when I talked to you at this conference, I had this idea. You said maybe to try this. I did that, and it worked out great for me. I just wanted to shake your hand and say thank you for giving me guidance. And my business model kind of took a turn. I pivoted to, you know, just by listening to you for a minute. So if that's a Jesus quality also, fine. You know, great.
Then you'll take the name.
It's fine. You know, it is. But otherwise, I am just John McBride.
Yeah, the normal guy that we all know.
Normal guy. Yeah.
So you transitioned from RMUS over to Alltell. How did that conversation go with Randall? I mean, he came in with, you know, 100 miles an hour, and we love it because there's so much good energy coming from Alltell. Which is, I think the industry is seeing it. It's popping up more and more.
Yeah. So let's talk about Randall for a minute outside of doing John McBride. So Randall definitely. I've known Randall for a while. I mean, he was our sales representative for DJI. So when he worked at DJI, he was our enterprise sales representative. We were one of the very first DJI dealers in the enterprise specific space. Right. So that relationship we've had with, you know, me personally with Randall, seeing him at the shows, seeing his interaction with people, definitely a great leader. Right. You know, he values, again, back to people, product, and you know, the overall getting people to love the industry. Right. So as you mentioned, it doesn't matter, you know, if again they buy a DJI, they buy an Alltell, they buy whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's mainly that let's try to make sure that we're working closely with these people. Now, scaling that has been a challenge for before Randall came on board, right? So, and we have a lot to fix. There's a lot of structure to try to get in place so that we can start handling the more inquiries that are coming into play. Not always having, you know, adding 1 million dealers to the list is the great choice, right. But at the same time, you know, you've got more people out there that are now, hey, this is popular. You know, this guy Randall, he's got his head on his shoulders, being open and being like trying to explain some of the issues and the real challenges. And we're not doing it for money grabs. It's not. Chip shortage is a real thing, folks.
Right.
It's a real thing, and you know. You can't take it personal as an end user that just bought something. Right. You know, and if you're going to wait, so be it. You can wait, you know, but we can't take it personal that that Alltell specifically is screwing people because of manufacturing and other things. So when you really do get to that level, myself, and again, for growth to understand, and I've been to DJI, I've been to Shenzhen 6 times to sit down at HQ and see what is going on, to be as transparent as we could as well at RMUS. But you know, Alltell and Randall's vision here are trying to keep it, you know, a good conversation going, and making sure that people are understanding that, you know, there are going to be challenges. Every business has them,
and I think
all the time.
I mean, he started right away, and the first order of business, it felt like, was, here's our problem with chip shortage, V1, V2 of the Evo 2. Yeah. Not an easy thing to open up to.
That email came out before I was actually announced to come on. So even internal at RMUS were like, oh crap, you know, I hope he doesn't get poked in the eye about being forthcoming, and some people were like,
I know you guys do. You
absolutely, 100%. You know, it's not just to say it; it's to actually say it and be meaningful behind it, sending a message that make your choice on buying it today or tomorrow. But we want to make sure that you understand, if you buy it today, these are going to be the challenges. Right. If you wait till tomorrow, these are going to be the challenges. Right. And I think that's very important in the industry with everything. You can't let every secret out of the bag on what's going on, but there's enough that you can talk to people about it.
And that's the part of it, of educating customers too, because we've seen a lot of the online groups where I think some of these people are coming from today, the conversations, and I think it's been a huge improvement too to see. I mean, you've always been around on him, but seeing Randall pop up, I think people are like, whoa, Randall's here.
Yeah.
He's active. He's listening.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you're not calling a 1-800 number and they give a suggestion and it goes into the big machine. It's Randall is listening.
Yeah.
And where it goes from there, you never know.
Yeah. And you know, we're listening. We recently done a survey. Specific. Yeah. And but to date, which I just saw this morning, that Randall was wanting to have, you know, the expected number would be 5,000 responses. Well, we hit 1,500 within an hour.
Awesome.
You know, so we just barely peaked the 5,000 after that release of that, but he was hoping to get that much data.
Yeah.
And people to be, you know, put a survey out doesn't mean just put the survey out. That means, like, we're taking these analytics, looking at what people are really saying about the challenges in the industry, the challenges with the manufacturer, the challenges with communication, the challenges.
I think my favorite question was about the color of it.
Yeah.
There's so many options. That's a good question.
We're just gonna make it hot pink next time.
Yeah, so it stands out.
Yeah. Certainly. Yeah. And again, kind of meeting the whole team. You know, I'm fairly new to the whole group. You know, I know people in this industry that Randall has put on the team. I've talked to them. I know them. You know, like I said, Troy and Rich, who are part of the enterprise sales guys. But we can't forget about those that have already been doing a lot of stuff already and doing the best they can with the tools that they've been provided. Yeah. So, you know, we've got Keith and Matt, who are also sales guys, and even from an RMUS perspective, they get back to us very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're very interactive, and it might be a scale thing that, like, there's maybe not 1 million products coming in from them, and that could be true. However, you know, we just want to keep that as we keep going, keep that communication to dealers and end users as open and focused as we can.
I think Randall's building a all-star squad to take over, which is great. So with you jumping over and becoming the director of training, right? That's your official title.
Yeah.
What are your goals, or what are you most excited about with this new position in the near future and long term?
Oh, good question. So let's come back to the training perspective. You know, another one of those things that I've always had a challenge with is trying to get people trained on stuff. I mean, it's always an optional thing, rather than it being required. You have to do it, right? The only have to do thing is, like, do you have your 107?
Right.
But and that is that sometimes people go, do you have insurance to fly? Do you have how many times have you operated this machine? That doesn't come up. You know, do you know all of the ins and outs just in case you have an emergency? That never comes up. So the things that I'm trying to make, I would hate to say it, mandatory is a level of training that from the manufacturer, you get certified manufacturer training, and you are authorized to operate that. No different than flying an aircraft or a plane. You know, same thing, is that the manufacturer says that you are capable of operating and understanding, and not just on a dealer level, but dealers have an even higher standard because they are supporting the people they're going to be selling units to, right? So When Randall asked me to look at this position, initially I was a little like, we have a lot of stuff to work. Like, where is your training stuff? And again, back to the people that are currently, that have been part of Alltell for a while and putting out material from Alltell specifically. Alejandro is one of these guys that are on forward facing and doing all of the, basically all of the tutorials and quick videos and stuff like that. But what we run into is like, how do we validate? And Jason on here, certified manufacturer training would be awesome for LE app. But how do we validate that you took that training, Jason?
Right.
Like, how do we know he actually did it instead of just watching a YouTube video?
Oh yeah.
I
mean, we do it for vehicles, right? You can't go drive a school bus or a dump truck without getting like your CDL.
Exactly.
So why not do that for the drone industry?
And even when I showed up here and you're like, hey, borrow the truck. And hey, I need some credentials showing that you have the right credentials to operate our vehicle, and do. So no, I mean, and it should be taken seriously. And whether that's with a charge or it's part of the purchase or anything like that, we have to kind of figure that out.
And I think something that rolls into also, so Jason bringing up the law enforcement side, but even as a Part 107 pilot, if you're going to go out and do a commercial shoot, you should be excited about it because it then brings some more validity to you.
Yeah.
We know the Part 107 is kind of just turned into a checkbox. Right?
Yeah, it literally is just a box to say, I got it. Right.
But if we have some of that certified training, that's where you should take it as a pilot or someone doing like a real estate shoot or doing mapping. You could then approach your potential customer and say, hey, look, I've got this. This is why I stand out from Charlie over here. Who's just got his 107. I've got the manufacturer training. I've got this many hours. And it's just really like saying, hey, I'm a legit pilot here for this operation compared to someone who's just going to race to the bottom and do it for 20 bucks.
Sure.
And
where do a lot of people go when they go to research about, like, I'm not sure why my lights are blinking this way, or I'm not sure what's going on here? They usually go to YouTube and just find some guy that like tries to explain it, and that's the training, because they maybe didn't invest into it at the beginning or weren't really understood. However, my position has been to provide a curriculum, an overall understanding of giving these tools, understanding that, hey, I'm giving these tools to your staff so that you can train your people following what I created. I may not be the direct trainer, but this train the trainer model, and not necessarily doing it like every drone program manager is going to come and do my training for manufacturer certified training. But for those that are trying to scale that, there's a ton of great training groups out there. That's what they do. They train people. And if they have curriculum provided by the manufacturer, rather than just making up their own, which I did at RMUS. I didn't get crap from DJI. I got a manual and I got a 4-page camera, and that's it. Like that's the training I got. Here, this is how much it costs. This is what the camera does. Here's a bunch of specifications. But and we talked about this, when you're really learning how to zoom in, track a person on a Z30 camera, and you can't show that you're proficient at that. That's like a 3-hour to 6-hour part of my personal training to go, if you're going to be using that zoom camera, you need to know all of the ins and outs of it. And if you're operating it and you lose the guy, and Chief's like, oh, hey, what happened? That's bad. I mean, we want to be able to be very understanding some of these techniques and tricks, and guys like myself, your staff can help with this, to kind of think outside of the box of specifically the hardware. Now, I'm not a cop. I'm not a firefighter. I don't do industrial inspection, but I know the hardware. And how is the hardware supposed to perform? How is the application supposed to do? And that can give guidance on that from a manufacturer level better than just a 2-page thing in the box. That's what I'm trying to.
I think we're really excited for it, because as we've been talking this week and going out and flying the Dragonfish and learning, we're both learning different things on how to, for your side, to communicate and make sure that this is what we need to cover so that our the 6 distributors can be successful with this.
Yes.
To then have us be prepped and ready to then go train our end users.
Yes.
Because I'm not giving out your personal cell phone number saying, hey, if you have a problem with the Dragonfish, call John right away. They're going to be calling us, and that's where we need, and our team needs to be confident and ready to answer all those questions.
Yeah.
And have them quickly.
Yeah, and it's a very new product.
Oh, yeah.
As we experienced yesterday. I mean, there's a lot of times where you kind of just uniquely find something, and you're like, what does this do? And there isn't a great explanation on stuff like that. So I have to note these things, write them down, make sure. And I actually did go home and had a whole list of, new chapter. Had to make a new chapter in the training because Aaron pushed a button and I wasn't expecting it to do X, So these are always challenges that come along. And for those, like I said, that just do a general training, take it out to the parking lot, do something really quick and show you fast. This isn't a product like that.
Right.
The Dragonfish pretty much commands that you really know how to operate it. You're certified to do it. You have gone through the not just initial training, but also overall, later training, continual training, and you'll see how applications and firmwares and things might change, and you have to be on top of that stuff.
You got to be invested.
You have to.
Right.
And that's what I'm hoping to do for the training side.
And there's a note there from Tyler. Says, any thoughts to branch the certified training into specific industries, example, search and rescue?
Yeah, well, like I said, most of certified training is like let's just talk about it like FLIR.
Right.
I come from that understanding that thermal background and whatnot. So if you're going to go get an actual thermography license / certification, you have to do a minimum of a 32-hour course and take that from ITC.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, though, tell you exactly how to do search and rescue operations or exactly
it's kind of the big picture.
It's a big picture to really understand the technology.
Right.
Science, the challenges, the how to build a report,
procedures.
how you move it into your specific workflow or your stuff. That's likely the role that I'll kind of create for the overall. Right. However, for Tyler's question is that we can always add these little things of like, how does the Dragonfish respond in a, how would you deploy it in a search and rescue effort? How would you deploy it in an Overwatch effort?
Right.
Wildland fire, these are all use cases that kind of, but I think the manufacturer certified training would be more or less that
the big picture operation.
Big picture, general, you bought this, this fancy, specific 3 sensor payload, and how does this thing work specifically under certain conditions?
Right. So I could see a huge resource that we've referred a lot of people to specific is, especially for law enforcement, is LEDA, which is the Law Enforcement Drone Association. And they're creating lots of trainings and curriculum around some of that.
Yeah.
So for Tyler's question, again, anyone who's watching, feel free to type in questions and we'll get to them as we can. But something like this for even drone, let's go away from Dragonfish, but just for drones in general, finding those groups like that may have answers that you're looking for could be a huge benefit. So again, LEDA is up there. I know there's like drone responders is out there. There's lots of groups who are specific for search and rescue, public safety entities. But for the manufacturer training, I agree. It could be just a big picture of like, here's the bare minimum, your Part 107, but then here's the minimum for probably operating an aircraft.
And here's some tools, here's some PDF forms, here's a syllabus.
Right.
These are the things you have to cover to give that to those types of people.
Right.
So, and it could be a moneymaker for them as well. I don't know. Like I said, it's been it was always a challenge at RMUS to try to monetize training, and if you bought it with a machine, it was like, well, we should just get training. And I'm like, it's kind of, it's hard to do that. And then again, individual passing, when you get your 107, you have your card. It says, I have it. I am John McBride and I have that.
Right.
However,
what do you have for
operating the DF or the Evo series or the 300, any of it, and Lockheed Martin, I think, is the only one that really has like you have to do it.
Right.
But their drone is 100K
right.
as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's jump into the Dragonfish here.
All right. Well, I kind of showed the little triple sensor. So just a quick overview. I mean, there's a lot of stuff online, but so we have a 20 times optical zoom camera. We have a
it is the 20 megapixel, correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Then a wide 12 meg, and that field of view. We'll play some videos here real quick and kind of show that from this sensor, and then a thermal 640 by 512. That the thermal has a pretty good pixel pitch, and you'll see this also in the video playback. How much, not detail, but detail.
Right.
And it's like you have more pixels on the screen, but that field of view is also an important factor when it's
like we talked the other day, the lens on it.
Yeah, if you have a wide, super wide field of view with a lot of detail, there creates a lot of noise. Well, with this aircraft, we're talking flight heights of 400 feet, but if you pushed it a little bit higher than that, an authorization, especially for public safety, that field of view is very important to do. And all of them are capable of zooming, and not in a like a digital.
It's not like a chunky like X1, X2, X3.
Yes.
It's a very smooth transition.
It's a fairly smooth transition, so that you can pull back out, pull back in with the same button.
Right.
So that's the payload, the triple payload. There's a dual payload as well. Same thing. Yep. 20 optical, wide. And then there's we got more payloads that are going to be available.
What are some of the other payloads you see on the horizon or that are out right now?
Multispectral is probably likely. A lot of people want these real high-end megapixel cameras. We got it. You get 50 miles an hour.
Yeah,
she moves 50 miles an hour.
It is a complete different game, I feel like. I mean, if you're flying a quadcopter, you let go and it stops.
Yeah.
This will do that, but if you're in a mapped mission, you're continually moving at 40 to 50 miles an hour.
And and when you're a drone and you're just kind of cruising and it's not a big deal. Some people are like, well, airplanes have big, well, they're at 3,000 feet. Right. They're at 2,000.
They're not going to hit anything.
And they're at 400 feet with a very high megapixel camera, and the field of view that you have. That is a ton of information if you got high megapixel plus only being able to go to 400. So your GSD is amazing, but really not kind of tough to get at.
Right. You're going to be recording a lot of data at a fast rate of speed.
Yes. Yeah. So the mapping is a bit more complicated than just mapping. Right. It's like, yeah, sure.
So sitting here, we got the controller.
Yeah. So the controller, it's large and big, so it
does come with shoulder straps.
It does, and additionally it has a quarter 28 on the back, so if you want to put that on a tripod or anything like that, you can do that. The application itself is called the Voyager app. So
this is the Android operating system, correct?
It is Android. And I always caution people about running third-party stuff,
especially on something so new.
Yes, on devices that might not have the processing power for other people's developments and creations and stuff like that. But it's not beyond us to work with these third-party application makers and try to create something. But I mean, the interface is fairly easy. Gimbal operation is fairly smooth. We've got little dials up and down, and then zoom over here on the side. So it's a fairly
and it's a high nit, intuitive. So it's a high brightness, high nit screen.
It's bright enough to make my face look pasty like yours.
Yes,
pasty.
Yeah, it gets worse than blown out. So also call me Casper. So
right. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, we saw yesterday the picture on here. We have an HDMI out, so you can you push that out to a screen if you want to.
What are we looking for batteries?
This has an expected 6.5 hours. So
did we test yesterday? I can't remember if you did for charging it while you're using it. That was.
But we haven't done that yet. But that's definitely a question that you had asked, and I'll wait for you to do that for me.
We'll take a look today. We're supposed to go back out flying again. So.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's to me it's definitely an easy operating unit. It feels good ergonomically. Yeah. It is heavy though, so it could be challenging after. How long is it supposed to fly?
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
Right.
You'll want to put this thing down or have it hanging somewhere.
And a lot of it too that we've seen is with the automated missions, you're not sitting there doing a lot of input. So you're doing a lot of pre-planning. You're flying in, you're going, and there's not a huge necessity to have sticks on or fingers on sticks.
I agree. You know, and that's a challenge with anything automated. Is like, you know, you have a lot. Now you're not just like being, oh, I can fly the bird. It's, I mean, I've been flying RC since 1986, and this is way different to try and fly. You know, so and when you have this forward flight that's constantly going, you press on the screen and you're not sure if it's going to go left or right. There's a lot of challenges with things that'll be in your way if you're not at an altitude that makes sense. You know?
And that's one of those things too that we did yesterday, jumping from automated flight to a manual flight. It's not a hard break. There's it's very boat-like in a sense to where it's going to then transition back. And then get to a
Go ahead and play that video. Why don't you play that video of the transition video, and I'll go ahead and just, you know, bring it up here. So
we're going to click over here to the video. Let's start this video here. I'm going to have to jump ahead. We took a longer video clip. Let's see if it'll play here. So we were out at a local field here and taking a look at operating just the different.
She definitely.
Hey, it did fall.
You're
good. Joking about that.
You're good.
It proves again that you're just a human. So taking a look here, we're just going to rotate the camera back up towards the left wing here. Again, we're out here in the Pacific Northwest. Found a great area to fly. We'll see Mount Hood in the background here in a little bit. But as you see, we're sitting here hovering. So we were flying an automated flight, stopped it, and it transitions right back up. And as we give it forward movement, you'll see the wingtip here rotate forward. And something we noticed from this video is that you see how many corrections it's doing on a fraction of a second. So you'll see here as it's banking, it's going to keep its level flight, but you see it kind of shaking around there. On the ground, it's nearly silent. You hardly hear the aircraft flying overhead. And we're just below 400 feet. There's Mount Hood in the background for our beautiful scenery. But it is impressive on how it's doing its corrections and turning, and it's
So traditionally, you know, a quadcopter, you know, is changing RPM constantly to maintain an altitude or maintain a direction. As we watch this here, we can definitely see that even though it's in forward flight, it's also listening to manual commands as well. So. And you know, whenever you hit left, hit right, move forward or back, it doesn't have an aileron, so it's got to make these very small changes constantly.
And that's one thing too. I mean, as we all know, a Vtol, vertical takeoff and landing. So it's got 4 motors on it. It's got 2 on the fuselage, 2 on the wingtips, and it's going to take off like a quadcopter. But then when you hit that transition forward, it's locking these motors on
these ones here.
Yep, it's locking them forward. Hold it for you.
So you're good.
They'll actively brake in that position to create less resistance. But then it is not using those until you either come back for a landing or you turn it to manual mode and do a full stop and have it hover.
So those wingtip motors are definitely not just used for forward propulsion when the transition happens, but also in managing. And these 2 things up here, so we've got an antenna here and an antenna there, are RTK antennas, not RTK as we know, mapping RTK, but for stability of flight, transmission time, those RTK, the RTK ground station that we use, can push that transmission out to 30 kilometers or 18 miles.
Which is extremely impressive. And I think going forward, I mean, the potential of this isn't there yet, but once people start thinking outside the box with beyond visual line of sight or BB loss and doing bigger operations for, you know, maybe overwatch or long corridor mapping for utilities, the possibilities are endless. And this will turn into, you'll quickly see how fast you can get ROI on this. Because it is, I mean, it's a little bit of a sticker shock when you think about a triple sensor payload with the aircraft, but this is a whole different game.
And a lot of people do talk about that, you know, well, God, why is it so expensive? And I come back to my roots of RC. When we are usually getting something that is carbon reinforced in the RC world, that is got gel coated or a, you know, laminates, and the wings here are beautifully made. I mean, this thing molding wise, just for the airframe alone, I mean, in the RC world, you're talking jets or anything, they could be upwards of 15K just for the airframes,
Right.
and well-made airframes. Right. Now you put a turbine into it, and that's another $5,000, $10,000 investment. You put all your electronics into it. So now we've got a $20,000 to $30,000 turbine jet
that you use it for a hobby.
And you only fly like this. It doesn't do automated tracking, moving. So you know, the engineering here is probably one of the biggest reasons. Like they came to Army Last, they showed it to me, and I have tested all kinds of Vtol, and the bigger challenges is the wind. Mm-hmm. This being able to handle the wind, it upwards of 20 to 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour is phenomenal. Right. Like it's phenomenal that it can handle the majority of what it gets thrown, what I've put through it.
And I think doing like test flights, we've seen other VTOL or fixed wing out there in the industry, but this is, I mean, I was impressed at how simple it is.
Yeah.
How, I mean, in retrospect, how user friendly it is and easy to understand after, of course, some training. But I hadn't seen anything like that on the market that was that easy. Yeah. That you didn't have to do, you know, 2 years of coding or programming or even understand what you're doing.
Yeah, and most of the VTOL and the fixed wing stuff are just going to do mapping. Yeah. Like they don't have an interactive camera whatsoever. Most of them don't feed back anything to you to the ground. So that's a lot less expensive to not have to put all those things in there. So also with that interactive, so you know, touching on the screen and it does something, moving to a space. So let's watch this wide video.
Let's see if it'll load here.
Yeah. So here's the wide view coming from the triple payload.
And again, like kind of industry standard for what it seems like now. It's a 3-axis gimbal.
Yep.
So you're going to have a full stable image.
Yep.
And again, a reminder that this is still cruising around a point of interest at probably 40, 50 miles an hour.
40 to 50 miles an hour. Yep. So that wide angle, you know, all I did was touch on that little horse trailer right there. But just by doing that, now I've directed the aircraft to do this kind of all the way around thing.
Right. So we're going to jump on the zoom video.
So the zoom video from the same recording.
Because again, similar to other cameras, it will record all 3 sensors at one time.
It does. But the zooming part is a little tricky because unless you zoom within that field of, you know, that camera, it will keep it. Yeah. So the wide even has a zoom. It has a small amount of zoom.
Digital.
Yes. So you can zoom in if you wanted to on the wide. You can zoom in obviously on the zoom, and you know, just kind of watching the ground and watching the stuff, you know, from this shot.
Type of elevate, I'm guessing around 400 feet for this.
Yeah, probably 350 to 400 feet.
So this is a great little clip there, and then let's pull up the thermal video on that.
Yep.
Let's go jump to, where is it? There it is. Play here. And this is something I think you might take a little second to explain. Maybe the difference with, I'm going to keep playing it because it's a minute and a half.
Yeah.
You were talking about how using the rainbow palette, the color palette, will actually show each individual pixel and see how much data we actually can probably get.
Yes. So, you know, all of the different colors that we're visualizing here is an individual pixel representing that amount of energy coming from the ground. So this is a 640 by 512 with a pixel pitch of 12. So that meaning that the pixels are more dense. So the horse trailer definitely has a lot of resolution to it because the density of the pixels rather than being a little bit more blocky.
Right.
Now XT2s use a tau sensor. Those are 17 on the pixel pitch. So they may not show as much detail, but again, field of view, size of the pixel pitch, all of that has a lot to do with how good the imagery looks.
And there's a huge rabbit hole you can jump down, but for just a quick and dirty, the lower the number for the pixel pitch, the closer together they are, which is going to give you essentially a better picture because they're closer and pick up different resolution.
And it is radiometric as well, but we have to be careful when we say that a camera and a sensor and the UI and everything is radiometric. We have to be very careful with that. But there is the temperature on the screen that gives us an understanding of what we're looking at to say, that hot spot is definitely relatively hotter than anything else next to it. So all of the stuff in that video that's all red doesn't doesn't mean it's really, really hot. It's just the temperature difference of that day.
On the scene of what
on
you're
the
looking at.
scene, you know, you might have only a 10-degree difference, but how it has to spread the colors around, you know, for us to visualize it is really important. So, well, we're getting pretty close. I have, you know, my hair to. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's hit some of these. Let's hit some of these questions that we got coming in.
So it looks like Wayne's asking, could you use a Vtol in a DFR program? So for DFR, for those tons of acronyms in the industry, but drone is a first responder. So Chula Vista's got an amazing method that's made lots of headlines. For a quick recap of DFR, rather than dispatching a unit out to a call, potentially, depending on the call, you could send a drone beyond visual line of sight to the incident, have it do some overwatch or figure out what's going on, to then also relay information back to officers responding, or even say, hey, this is over with. We don't need to put assets on it.
Is this more than capable? Absolutely. You know, as far as the technology, as far as the flight time, as far as the capability, there is no doubt that this would have that capability. Now we get into the Chula Vista regulation, the dollars spent to make this happen, the you know, people getting on board, even on their local communities, as well as everything else. That is a different story, but no doubt with the range and the potential capability,
the capabilities built in are totally there, and that would be a great use case for it.
Absolutely.
Again, though, on the backside, that's just, I would say this is, the equipment's a small piece of it.
Yeah.
The big hurdle is all the paperwork, the waivers, the procedure policy, all that other stuff. So definitely is capable of it. Also with capabilities, can we talk a little about maybe different versions?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one we have here is a 7 kilogram version, 8-foot wingspan. People kind of get a little like, holy crap, what'd you say that was? 100, I don't even know, 120K.
Like 120, I think 125.
Yeah, so that with the triple sensor.
With the triple sensor.
And that could be pretty steep. So they made a smaller one. And it was already in the pipeline. It's just that let's make a little bit smaller one, same payload, same similar battery type, you know, it's just a little bit smaller.
A little bit more
economic, and is well transportable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we already figured that out. This is a pretty big aircraft. It's got big stuff. It's got all the components, parts, pieces, and the case is a fairly heavy product. Yeah. You know, it's getting it around.
Two-man lift for sure.
It is definitely a two-man lift.
So what is the quick specs on the smaller one? Is there a wing size, flight duration is a little less?
It is a little less, 5.5 kilograms. Okay. So, and then you're only dropping your flight time just a little bit. You know, it's not a lot, but and we talk about cannibalizing a lot in the industry. Like you release different models, different types, different kinds. But I think, you know, people again are going to try a small Phantom style aircraft. This might be the smaller Dragonfish might be the one. Then there's the one we just shown that has a little bit more sustainable flight time and range, because the other one's not. I'm not positive if we're going to have like a full RTK setup and everything else as a combo with it, where you buy it with this one. And then there's a bigger one that's got a 12-foot wingspan.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What do you know flight times on those?
2.5 hours. I can get that for you for everybody that's watching. We can email that out. I've got a little data sheet. And I'm terrible trying to remember it all.
Which is exciting because you know the Dragonfish itself is, like we just talked about, not one drone fits all. Yep. But maybe one Dragonfish doesn't fit all either. There could be the agencies or end users that want a smaller one.
Yeah.
But then you're also going to have people on the other side of it who need a bigger one, who might need that 2.5 hour flight time.
Sure.
So it's exciting to see. You know, I would say this is one of the first mass-produced Vtol that has the ingenuity into it, the ease of use, the capabilities long-term. I mean, I don't think we've even figured out all the things that you could use it for, but it's prepped for it.
Yeah. And you know, the guy that put this all, you know, he's a PhD.
Yeah.
In China. However, very much so, 3.5 years of engineering on this thing.
It's great, and it shows. I mean, it's nearly flawless. I mean, I haven't seen any flaws on it.
Yeah.
Other than it's really
I've been doing this long enough to be. Oh yeah, that's cool. All right, that's a very unique design. You put and I'm like, oh, geez, this thing is like, holy crap, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a higher price point, but for those that know what it's going to be capable of doing or want to get into, yeah, it's
it has the wow factor.
It does, certainly does.
Jason, who's on here, we went up and did a demo right across the river, and Max and Gary and all them were there, and they pull it out and put it together, and everyone was just like, whoa, like, this thing's here. It makes the statement itself.
It certainly does. Yeah.
And then you get it to fly, and you're like, holy cow. Yeah. But then you remember it also flying around an expensive aircraft at 100, up a few hundred feet, and you're like, wow, that thing just keeps moving and moving. But
yeah. Well, recently, and it isn't any bad, like I letting people know. I mean, I was recently helping out in Miami with the collapse, and one of the challenges again is wind down there. You got a lot of wind. A lot of wind pushing right there on the coast, pushing around all over the place. So upwind, we're doing like 30 miles an hour. It's pushing against it. Downwind, I'm doing like 70 miles an hour. So doing my circular flights, you can see in some of the videos of taking of the area that I've got a little bit slower going this way, and then and then
cruising right around.
But man, that thing, watching the video, you could never tell. You would never tell that we're down there, and my built-in anemometer wind meter was like this, standing there.
Jeez.
So you would never tell.
And that's another thing too, is with that whole thing, and how cool it is for the diversity of drone usage for it. So something like this could be used for overwatch and maintaining the scene, seeing what's going on. But then we saw that there were drones on the ground, relative term, that were doing mapping of it, and I think they were doing mapping every
3 to 4 times a day, if not every several hours, done by different, even not one organization was just collecting. It was constant for that data.
Which feeds back into what we talked about with training, right? If you have training that's kind of unilateral, and I know a lot of people are moving like NIST, stuff like that. There's other things coming up that can help create a blanket of like, this is the training standard. So, we heard all good things from the operations down there. It seemed pretty seamless between everyone working down there, all the agencies that were there, from federal, local, to state.
Yeah, initially it was fairly chaotic from what I understood, but I got there on the back half of where it wasn't too sensitive. It already kind of smoothed down politically and everything else. But to put it in a real world situation like that was surreal.
Yeah,
very surreal. And so, and I don't get that chance very often as an individual. Just flying around, looking at horse trailers, it's about the best it gets. But when I'm actually involved and help with and give insight to, and then watch these videos later, done by my PS guys, it's just wow. Yeah. You have a true appreciation for what they have to get ready, even to fly. To get ready to deploy and ready to give information back and report. You've got to have that. You don't want the hardware messing up.
Exactly.
So
there is, it looks like a question from Tyler. Tyler said, I heard the EVA 2 had issues over large bodies of water. Does Dragonfish have the same issues?
So I'm not aware of the issues over, Tyler, on large bodies of water. I go back to the DJI side of things when people actually flow close to the water,
with the visual position,
and it definitely the visual positioning or any optical flow imagery, optical flow decision making sensors on the drones definitely have sometimes some challenges in reflective. It's not uniform. It's not
stable. It's moving.
Yeah,
kind of wanted to pick up. I remember the old Phantoms had that, where if you're on a river, it wanted to kind of drift with.
Yeah, it because of the ever changing. And I say not, it is not something. It's ever moving. So I haven't seen anyone yet. I mean, again, I've been using Alltell stuff for quite a number of years, but I haven't put it in that position to have that. But the question was on the Dragonfish. Dragonfish on the bottom does not have optical flow sensors at this time. I mean,
its main connection is to the RTK ground station
Correct.
They set up with the big antennas and stuff like that. So I could see.
And I had no problem flying it over the ocean. Like over the ocean. Yeah. And I was going to queue up another video that we had that was just like observing a barge while we were out there. And it's definitely over water, like for, I don't know, 10 minutes of just circling around and moving around. So
Tyler, if that answers your question, let us know. If there's a little bit variation of what you're looking for, let us know. We'll try to see what we can do. But with that, the Other question I kind of want to get into is maybe we can touch a little bit on, we did a little bit with the V1, V2 of the Evo.
Mhm.
What are the current updates on it? Do we know anything with what the big changes are?
Mhm.
You know, we get a lot of questions online that, you know, people are like, oh, what is going on?
Yeah.
Do I need to buy something what's going to talk to?
Well, let's come back to that manufacturing side of things, right? So any manufacturer are going to have their challenges when trying to source and bring things in. Any type of stuff, doesn't matter. I make vehicles or cars. We've got Ford that's putting things in pasture right now because they can't get chips.
GMC too.
GMC, all of them. Everybody in all the industries are having this challenge. So there's that. The other challenge is knowing the expectation of how much to make. Like how many units should we make? Well, it's up to, unfortunately, dealers to then talk about a product, to their customer base. That customer base says, hey, I think we're all together we're gonna order about 50 times 25, 30, whatever dealers across the way to expect how many we should produce. Nobody wants to make too much, and nobody wants to make too little.
Right.
And that is manufacturing 101. As soon as we get, V1s that are out there, those are great working units. I mean, I've got tons of public safety entities and others that are using them for their use. It's inspection and all kinds of stuff. The live deck, the now new smart remote, all of these things are definitely, as an ecosystem, working really well.
Right.
Now we run into this, well, what's this V2 thing? Well, when anybody thinks like there's something on the horizon or it's going to change or, I'm going to get screwed.
Right.
I'm going to get screwed because my equipment doesn't do. Well, I've got an Inspire one that is, 7 years old now?
Yeah.
She came out in 2004. She has 3,300 flights on her. I retired her a year and a half ago. But if I go put a battery in it and go fly it, it's going to fly fine today. 12 megapixel camera.
Yeah.
I can still do work with this thing. 7-year-old airframe.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge will be the batteries. But how long do I expect DJI to keep creating something so I can keep operating my 7-year-old ship?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Not as an end user.
Right.
And that'll always be a hard thing to juggle all the time between how do we keep supporting old equipment, how do we keep innovating to new equipment, how do we keep changing things, and that is always complicated, So nobody wants to hear that their, new earphones that they just bought doesn't work with their iPhone. But, I have an iPhone 12 now.
Yeah.
If I could still use my iPhone 4, I most certainly would. It was smaller, it was easier.
Yeah.
I most certainly would.
Right.
It was perfectly fine. But I've had to move with my drone technology because the drone stuff isn't capable of running on the iOS systems of the day. And I don't get mad at iOS because somebody made an app that doesn't work anymore. I have to kind of just expect that.
So we've seen that the kind of the current news is there's the V1 of the Evo 2 and the V1 of the smart controller, which we haven't sitting on the shelf. Well, hardly any left, but we have V1s. But then as we move forward, there will be a V2 of the Evo 2.
There is already, so that's even coming on. Yeah,
and
so a V2 of the
smart
Evo 2.
controller.
That should be coming online as well. Right. And like I said, it is a global issue that has caused all kinds. Yeah, absolutely, with sourcing and everything else, and the engineering side has been trying to meet those challenges and providing, again with even Randall's announcement or telling people, this is the deal.
Right.
But I just don't want people to lose faith that, just because they bought something that was 6 months ago and now they're screwed somehow. I again can do great work with old equipment, and I'm not saying it's old, I'm just saying I can do good work still with the things that are out there. I'm not losing out on anything, by waiting
and it's not like the Evo 2 V2 batteries are going to be any different. It's the same form factor. It's just the internal.
Even all the payloads. So you can switch out payloads. The batteries are going to be the same. There's just those communication is. We come back to the DJI stuff. DJI had the Light Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Light Bridge didn't work with Light Bridge 2.
Right.
Light Bridge 2 did. Didn't work with OcuSync 1,
Mm-hmm.
OcuSync 2, and OcuSync 3. These are 5 different video transmission systems that were only 7 years.
Right.
Because Lightbridge was originally on the M600, or I'm sorry, the S900, S1000. Right. You bought it separately. But when LB2 came out, that was M100 and the Inspire.
Right. So it is just a change of the internals.
Yeah.
A small change.
Well, I spent all this money.
Yes.
I get it, man. I get it. I really do get it, guys. I really do. I've been there, explained to customers. I'm sure you have too. Right. But yeah, we just kind of have to work with it a little bit. Right.
So there shouldn't be any, I don't feel like there should be much of a worry or concern from the end user side. Definitely, like we talked about, communicate with us. We are here to help. We work extremely close with Alltell and their A squad over there. Mm-hmm. It is kind of, at first when everyone's like, whoa, we're here in V2, like what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's really, I don't think it's that big of a concern as what it felt like right off the bat. So
yeah. Well, and the smart controller has definitely been kind of a badass creation.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. I tested, I did some range testing with it. The nit of the screen looks good. Oh, yeah. Everything is really not, the form factor is good. It's not super heavy, but you know,
it's like a 7.8 inch display.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And if you're familiar with the smart remote that DJI made, right. and its screen is like
5.5 inch.
Yeah. And trying to put my fatter fingers and trying to select.
Yeah.
It's definitely an improvement over, you know,
it's even an improvement over the DJI one because the screen.
Yeah.
The DJI one, you get a lot of glare, similar to like a cell phone.
Yeah.
But with that, the smart controller and the ground station with this, they look nearly the same, just this is extra large.
Yeah.
It's extremely impressive. I think last time I checked, I think we only have 2 left on the shelf because the second they come in, they're going right back.
Yeah, and we only had globally or however many made globally on the first run before the chipset thing happened, right? So everybody's like, "Where's mine?" Or, "Oh, I want to get one because John and Aaron said it's badass, right? So where's my? I want one." So we are in that phase of trying to wait for the V2s. So smart controllers of right now, if you get one, only are going to work with the V1s. In the future, we just got to be more diligent, even on as a resellers, for any other possible resellers out here listening, being a bit more diligent on making sure that the combos to getting to their end users are correct.
And I know that there's new combos they're putting together with smart controllers, but we haven't really put. We're very much I like sure answers. We're bold and upfront, and blunt. Yeah. Sometimes it's not the best, but why waste time?
Yeah.
So we're very cautious of putting a ship date because as a consumer, I don't want to buy something and like, oh, it'll be next week. It'll be next week.
Yeah.
So we're kind of.
What did you say, Skydio? You say you're Skydio?
I'm not throwing shade yet.
Yeah. Love those guys. I love their technology, but man, when you're like, hey, I need one for my customer. 6 months. You're like,
I know. It's and that's the hard part is, you know, we tell people all the time, hey, when's this coming out? We don't have a hard answer, but as soon as we know, we'll let you know. Yeah. So a lot of this stuff too, if you guys want to get info, we have Facebook and Instagram and our website. You can sign up, and that's where we're going to be pushing a lot of this info out, and we'll be doing it on some of the groups when we can. But
so let's just review some of these questions, and then like I said, so Tyler asked about the Evo 2 over large bars. Again, that's something I'm going to have to test to experience myself. Dragonfish does not have any issues. The certified program is going to be awesome. I agree with that. But do you have certified repair people? And that's a really good question, because I don't think we've really pushed that. At least I know from Alltell we haven't pushed that. DJI certainly has. There's others that we don't sense why. They want you to be a certified repair center. I was also an Elios flyability Elios dealer, and we only one of my guys was only two people in the United States here that were trained initially to be a trainer. Right. Just like I'm saying now, the dealer, that's me, RMUS, had to send one of my guys to Switzerland.
Yeah,
that was a huge investment. Right. To be one of the only guys as a certified trainer that used their curriculum. So we're using that same model, but when we come to the repair, I only had 2 guys that could repair them, that were certified to repair them.
So I know there's a lot of info still coming out with some sort of like Alltell care or protection plan for stuff, and that's something we can touch on at a later date. But is there are we, as end users, are they sending stuff to Vtol or what?
They pretty much have been doing it that way
For the repair center?
Yeah, it's going back to the repair center in Vtol, in Vtol, Washington. Right. So no one else has really been doing that, unless you just have a guy that might be like me that's in his house in Nebraska that likes to fix drones and tears apart one, put together another. But yeah, most of that's being done there.
Right.
Where is there going to be a path for that? I'm not positive. That's something, again, Randall and I can talk about to see if there's going to be a path for certified repair people. But it's always the consistency. It tends to be the problem. If you're, I got it repaired by XYZ company and they didn't do a great job, or vice versa, that these guys at Vtol didn't do a good job. We just got to keep that consistent. And that's that same layer of training.
Right.
Everything stays consistent. So same guidelines, same stuff. So,
right.
NDAA. I knew that was going to come up. Jason.
I'll text him out.
Yeah. It's good. So Jason Peters asked about NDAA. So
do you want to bring back and talk to what is NDAA?
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure exactly. Again,
but quick and dirty.
Quick and dirty. We have to follow some guidelines that the United States says in order for us to sell these types of equipment, you have to be compliant with NDAA, which basically means made in the USA.
Right.
And that's a very tough one to do when people go, hey, the Alltell Duo costs $7,000. I'm just throwing numbers.
Right.
The Mavic Advance cost $6,000. But when I look at an NDAA compliant product that's gone through all of the little hoops to do it,
just add a zero.
Add another zero. Add another zero. So anyone on the blue UAS type stuff that is kind of falls into NDAA compliant stuff, we have to look at sometimes if you're getting a good product out there, and we have taken the strides to make sure that no data is going anywhere, no chipsets are going to be a problem, no this, there could be an expenditure to that. That's the truth.
Right.
Because if we just made a product and here you go, any product line, it's cheap, it's easy.
Right.
But once you start to throw in, so I go back to the Northrop Grumman or the Lockheed Martin that say, when they make a product in the drone world, they're super expensive because it's gone through a whole lot of governmental processes. I was also a sheet metal mechanic in my former life, worked on C-130s and F-16s. And they just said, this widget needs to be pulled out and changed. And you're like, as a mechanic, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this widget.
Right. It works.
It's fine. And they're like, nope, 10,000 hours, that thing goes, and you replace it. And that's the same thing with sometimes with these compliance things, is that you're falling into regulations that are kind of difficult to not have to put money into.
Right.
And that gets passed on, to the end user. So you have to kind of figure out compliance. Yes, we want to be NDAA compliant. There's no doubt. Cost maybe might be a little more expensive for NDAA specific aircraft that might be released. Whereas there's plenty of people that don't give two shits about that.
Right.
They're going to buy it. They're going to get it. They're going to fly it. They're going to be looking still at dead people. It's not going to matter to them.
Right.
And that there is that separate market for monies that are available to meet the NDAA.
Right.
So it's definitely in the pipeline. So cool. Definitely in the pipeline.
Thanks for that question, Jason.
Absolutely. Any other? Let's see. Do you have anything else in there?
I'm seeing scrolling through. I think we hit on all these here.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else there is. If there's any other questions you guys want to type in, we're getting close to wrapping back up again.
We could talk all day. I could talk all day. I know we could talk all day, but yeah.
We have a timer.
Oh, dang it.
You can tell us that we've been doing this for long enough. But so for more information, though, definitely get a hold of us. It's genpackdrones.com. I'll have our guys throw our drone email in there. If you guys have any questions, you can email us and we'll get back to you. Like I said, our Facebook, I think it's genpackdrones.com. Our website, like I mentioned, has a contact form if you want to get a hold of us. We'll be putting out more videos and more trainings. Hopefully, once John starts putting out more, like Tyler just asked, place to follow up on Alltell training. If you want to email us, we can get a hold of you. I think it's in the pipeline. There's going to be a lot of, with you being there, feels like a month now.
A month.
A month.
Yeah, a month. Most of the trainings I created for RMUS, again, from ground zero, nothing. I mean, we had nothing, right?
Right.
Took me like 3 to 4 months to make.
Right.
But also I want to make, I work now closely with engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to be able to go, are you going to make any more changes before I publish something? So it'll be a little, hoping to be quick, but you want
to be thorough. And
I definitely want to be thorough, because if I'm going to hand over stuff and people are like, hey, this doesn't make sense, or these changes are happening.
And also, Tyler, another great spot is Alltell Robotics YouTube page. Alejandro's been putting out great videos, just basic ones about like Dragonfish and stuff like that. So, but if there's specific questions, get a hold of us, or if you guys want to see different, I kind of read that. If you, there it is, a statement that's private on there. But if you have any questions or want to see anything specific from us, shoot us a message. I don't mind having one of our guys take the Dragonfish out and shoot a quick video, or do some testing.
And I'm happy to support that as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get off the wall questions about stuff all the time. So dealers ask, or my customers in my former life of RMUS, VP of technology, that was kind of my job, to do a lot of R&D and testing, and then put them in scenarios that would definitely be challenging or difficult. So I'm happy to support that as well if you guys ever need anything like that. So my new role, I hope not to disappoint. Hopefully it works out for everybody, and especially to continue the love for the passion, and pushing out drone use and work. And it's crushing to me when I show up to an agency and they're like, yeah, we bought this a year ago, but it's still collecting dust.
That's the worst.
I just am like, dude, that's worse than crashing it.
I know.
I'm like,
we take, similar to like most authorized distributors. It would be a dick move if I didn't go train someone and they buy an aircraft from us and they don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
It's a free thing you have to offer to show them just the hardware.
Yeah.
But that's different, clearly, from the training.
Yeah.
And that's where there's so many other avenues to start, but it's just the bare bones. You got a 107, you know how to operate, what's on the menus, and where everything is. But I think we're very similar. We're just here for the support of the industry, whether it be for utilities or public safety or agriculture. There's so many uses. We just want to see success.
And there's so many things that I've done in my 20 years of being, part of the drone industry is to see how things have developed and changed and worked on. And, I think it's fascinating to me, and I love it. So thank you everyone for, again, thank you for having me. It's been great.
I know a month ago it was a Saturday. It blew up. John McBride goes to Alltell. And there's all these articles left and right, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?"
It got announced on a Saturday. It was kind of funny. Just real quick on that. So here's RMUS. I let my partners know. The marketing team was like, "We need to get this out, as soon as possible." I'm like, "Well, we got to make, don't want to cause waves yet with the world. We got to give some time for RMUS to respond and put something out there." But as soon as it was kind of leaked, if you will, SUAS News was the first ones to kind of like bam out into the world.
It's either that or Drone DJ.
Yeah, and my phone and all the hits on Alltell's website went woo. So
that's so funny.
It just I'm glad to see people kind of go through that. So yeah,
we'll do a poll with Romeo to see which was bigger, when Romeo left DJI or when John left RMUS. So
yeah.
Anyway, well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. Love the private comment.
I love it.
Good.
Yeah, it's great.
Anyway, like I said, if you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, just want to ask for John's personal cell phone number, email us, and we'll see what we can do for it. We're excited that you guys were all here. Again, the recording will be going out, and I think we'll send a link to everyone who attended in case they want to share that, rewatch it, make some memes from it.
Again, thank you everybody for having me and listening, and happy to do this kind of stuff. So
cool. All right, thanks guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.